a very, very disappointing outcome to what was still quite a good performance for the most part, for sure. And again, one of those harsh reminders of how cruel football can be at times, and that there is a little bit of chance and luck involved. Obviously, I've now lost twice to Georgia State on a miss hit cross. And I won't forget either of them, sadly. But I think important that we don't overreact. Important that we understand the things that we did well, but also take accountability for the things that we didn't, and yeah, do our absolute best to respond in a really really healthy way against ODU.
So, Dan, thanks for taking the time to be with us today. Um, you are big into the analytics, and I'm sort of curious if you have an XG number from that game that you'd be willing to share.
Yeah, 3.06, I think. Yeah, it was a tough one in that XG is not everything. And I actually said to the guys, it'll be the ones that don't. It'll be the expected goals that don't show up because of our, the opportunities we missed to arrive on the end of crosses. That was probably our biggest downfall, were the chances that, um, or the shots that didn't exist to the total shot count and to the expected goals. That was probably our biggest area of improvement and the harshest punishment. The reality of what I saw when we got the match analysis back and the data points back was, if you'd have given me that breakdown and just blacked out the scoreline and asked me, like, will you accept this sheet, and then later find out the outcome of the game, there won't be a game I would accept that sheet 100% of the time. So I'm taking nothing away from Georgia State. Love Brett to bits, and he's a good friend on the circuit, and again, have nothing but respect for what he does and what Georgia State have done. I'm simply looking at what the numbers showed. We have key performance indicators, certain benchmarks and metrics that we try to hit. We underperformed in our expected goals, and it's one of those things. I think what probably made me feel better was anyone that watched the Liverpool Man United game the very following day. Liverpool's expected goals was 3.14. They go 1-0 down, they equalise, they end up losing 2-1 late on. So the game's almost played out identically to one another. Obviously, nice to know that you can spend hundreds and hundreds of millions and still not guarantee that you're going to meet your XG metric. So, yeah, and a statistical anomaly, from that perspective, the most lopsided statistical data I've ever seen or ever been involved with, where we've gone on to lose the game based on how favorable the metrics were. But the metrics also wouldn't have said that there was a 0% chance that Georgia State were going to win the game, right? And as harsh as that lesson may have been, we were taught that, a chance and a moment can change the game, by luck or by skill. Either way, we didn't put away our chances. We weren't clinical enough. Um, yeah, we had some of those chance moments go against us. We hit the underside of the crossbar 3 different occasions. Granted, one of them led to the goal, but we're a combined distance of probably 2.5 inches away from winning that game 3-2, or as I said, scoring at certain moments in the game that would have been really really pivotal, such as the start of the second half.
So, Dan, I recognize that you're not happy to be coming off a loss, but with 4 games left in the regular season, do you like where your team is at overall? Still tied for first in the Sun Belt and still very much in the hunt?
Yeah, I think we had looked after we were 5-1-1, and said, if you were to times that by two and get to 10-2-2, that would be a pretty good position to be in. Obviously, that's contingent upon a win tomorrow against ODU. So I still think we control our fate when it comes to the conference, when it comes to RPI. We have opportunities ahead of us in the last 3 games. Of course, the nature of how Sunbelt play had started, we wanted to put as much in the bank as we possibly could. But we are also aware that Georgia State's unbeaten at home this season. It is a difficult place to go to. And despite feeling like we probably did enough to come out of there with a result and even a win, that was a difficult stretch and is a difficult stretch that we're in the middle of. And now obviously we have, I think, the good news of a quicker turnaround going into Old Dominion to hopefully move on quickly from the disappointment from Saturday.
So first time we've had a chance to chat with you since the seeding projections were announced last week. West Virginia at number 13 in the NCAA seeding projections. So similar question there, Dan. Like,
Mhm.
do you like where you guys stand in the work that you've done in terms of resume building to this point?
No, no. I mean, listen, the seeds are closer reflecting the RPI, right? And I think we were 12 in the RPI when the 13 seed came through. Probably it depends which way the wind blows sometimes with RPI and what week it is. We have been in a position where we've had a 3-0 and 2 quad one to all of a sudden two ties in quad one. So we need a little bit of help from some of our stronger wins to make sure they finish their seasons, and that's slightly out of our or finish their seasons as well, and that's slightly out of our control. So we have to make sure that what is in our control of these next four games, and that we get the most positive results we can. If we take care of business here, we'll be a back-to-back regular season title holder, and if we take care of business in these last four games, I think we'll very comfortably make the top 16 of the seeding as and when it comes.
I'll throw in the question for Kevin here real quick. Setting your lineup and playing rotations has been a topic for much of the season. How do you and the coaches avoid overthinking or conducting too much analysis with such a talented and deep lineup?
Yeah, I think we like the versatility that we have in some of how we can set the team up, both from a personnel perspective and from a tactical perspective. We spoke about it a little bit today to the group to say that that needs to be seen as a strength of what the team has to offer. And yeah, we're in the middle of we're in a portion of the season where we're on these 3-day turnarounds, right? We have the game, and then it's a recovery day, conceivably, and then immediately it's match day -2, match day -1, and do it all again, play again. So it makes it difficult for an opponent if we have the capacity to be versatile in the way we set the team up, and difficult for the opponent if we have versatility in what the lineup might be. We wouldn't do that if I only had 8 good players or 10 good players or 12 good players. But we don't. We have 28 good players, and we have incredible depth in the squad that it is to our advantage to be able to use it. The secret to that recipe is making sure you keep everyone bought in and everyone understands they all play a role, and the various games and various tactical setups of our opponent may allow us to adjust only subtly to what it is we do to either confuse them or to improve our advantage in the game.
I'll go
So,
ahead.
oh, go ahead,
Uh,
Adam. Yes, please.
so Dan, when after the loss to Gardner Webb, you kind of talked about the team's mentality and the
Mhm.
psyche of kind of we're ranked whatever, we should come out here and take care of business. How have you seen the team grow in that way, or do you want to see more in that way? What is the psyche of the squad when it steps on the pitch?
No, I think it's trended really, really well. I think there was like really good indicators and evidence when it went from the response from High Point more specifically to the UCF game, to the James Madison game, um, and then obviously Georgia Southern as well. And that continued through American, and then for the most part, honestly, continued through the Georgia State game. So we got to be careful that we don't lose that confidence and lose that edge that we have, because I think the players believe in what we have, and believe in what we're doing right now. Yeah, with the exception of a blip on Saturday, I think there was growing evidence and growing belief within the team that we can do something really, really special this year. I don't think that will have wavered, and it certainly hasn't wavered for me because we were on the wrong side of a result on Saturday. Under those circumstances, I think had we been again, I don't want to take anything away from Georgia State, but if I'd have come away from that game feeling like we significantly underperformed, or Georgia State really got the better of us, or we didn't have certain answers to certain things that they were doing, or we didn't look dangerous, I'd probably have much, much bigger concerns than I do right now, which is, yeah, we didn't take some of our chances, and we didn't put them away at key moments in the game. And as I said, whether it be skill or a little bit of luck involved, a moment and a goal can substantially change the game, and that's obviously what the second goal for them did in that moment. So, listen, anytime you're close to 2.5 goals better than the opponent from an expected goal perspective, I would imagine you probably have an 85% plus chance of winning the game, and the opponent probably has less than a 2% chance of winning the game. But like I said, it wasn't zero. It wasn't zero. So we've lost to probably a 1 in 50 game on Saturday, and we need to do everything in our power to make sure that, despite those odds, that doesn't happen again.
When watching your team, one of the things, and you already alluded to it, about the team's identity is its versatility. However, when that's your identity is being versatile, do you not have, is it hard to find an actual identity, if that makes any sense? Do you follow what I'm saying?
No, because I think the players understand the blueprint, and I think the players understand the nature of how we are looking to defend, the nature of how we're looking to attack, the key areas that we're looking to arrive in with the ball, in the nature of how we finish the attack. Some of those things don't change. Perhaps the positional profiles of players and the nature of how we construct our attacking formations and defensive formations can be subtly different to one another. And sometimes that can be enough to kind of distort the opponent and off balance the opponent. But the idea of essentially what our identity is, to stress the opponent, to overwhelm the opponent, to accumulate with the ball, feel like we accumulate fatigue of the opponent, to be dynamic, to run hard behind the line, to move the ball 1 and 2 touch and play with tempo. It won't matter what the formation is. It'll always look and feel like that. So I don't think we're at a place where we are confusing our own players or overwhelming our own players. I think we try and spoon feed some of these subtle adjustments and have a mission statement to be the most intelligent team in the country from a tactical and emotional intelligence perspective. And I think we have a good group in that regard. So when I show them something, or we present something that was slightly different to what we did the week before, I don't think there's confusion. I think right now there's buy-in and understanding that this is something that could work and something that will perhaps disrupt the opponent a little bit. And we're talking about subtle changes. I think the nature of how we're having these conversations may be given makes me sound like a nutty professor, like it may be giving me too much credit that we're constantly tinkering and changing things. They're very, very small, minor adjustments to very, very capable players that have likely seen this or done it before somewhere else. So I don't think, it's important to me that we one of the consistent themes is that we continue to place players in positions of strength where they can perform at their best, and that we don't ask them to do things that are beyond their capacity, right? You always want to set your team up to enhance your strengths and limit your weaknesses, and that will always be the overriding intent, even when we make these subtle adjustments.
Can you talk a little bit about I think underrated is Nacho Martinez and his season, and really not talked about, being that young in that role, his performance. And then can you tell me a little bit about the partnership that's developed with him and Cause out on the field?
Yeah, we've been so happy with Nacho. I think I'm a bit of a sucker for maybe a central midfielder in general, but particularly one that maybe aligns with kind of Cos's profile or Tyler's profile. And I think it's important to be reminded that I had the good fortune of inheriting Ryan Baer when I got the job. He'd already signed as a Mountaineer, so it made me even more aware of the defensive profile of the position and the necessity of that, especially when we play at home on the large field that we have. And I think it wasn't the case of not knowing what you don't have until it's gone. We were very aware that when Ryan was going to graduate, and Otto, to be fair, because they complemented one another so well, that there was a void that we needed to fill, and it didn't match, with respect, the profile or perfectly match the profile that Cos was or Tyler Zapata was that was joining us in January. So we felt we needed that combative defensive destroyer in there, and it's so valuable, the number of regains. You could probably take a 30-second snippet of me complimenting Ryan Baer and insert it right here for what I'm going to say for Nacho. So wonderful human being, and it shows up every day with a really nice smile on his face, even though he doesn't understand myself and Andy when we speak too quickly. But again, his capacity to read where the game is being played and show control in possession for us, I actually think he's further along than perhaps where Ryan was at this same age or this same stage in his career. So we're very, very excited for his future with the program. And then yeah, we've gone back and forth with Cos complimenting him in there and their understanding and partnership together. And we've been really, really pleased with what the start of the season looked like, what it's looked like when we've reintroduced Cos in more recent games for them to play in there together. And in fairness to Cos, it was an area of improvement for him when he first came to the program. It was probably the separating factor of why Otto and Bear played as much as they did, and why Cos was probably picking up his minutes secondary to those two was his defensive qualities and reliability off the ball from a defensive standpoint, and that's improved substantially with him as well. So we're very, very happy with what we have in there collectively. And the nature of that relationship and the qualities that they bring, I think they complement each other really, really well.